All right. Let's start off by saying Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. Ba'ashem. The name of this one is Darius The Mede with 3 question marks at the end. This lesson is going to pretty much be centered around a question a brother asked me at the camp this past Saturday. So I did some research on it for the last couple of days. I kind of been looking into it because there's a lot of conflicting things, going on with these different scholars, and you find out that these different scholars, they don't even agree with each other when it comes to certain breakdowns of certain things in the scriptures. Even dealing with historical accounts that have taken place in history that are biblical. But what you see in front of you again is the Elder Bishop Manatazak's page from the Connecticut camp GMS live show. I put the link in the description box again. It was 580 earlier. It's up to 776, almost have 200 more subscribers. Actually, now it's over 200 more subscribers. Trying to get this to 1,000 or more. So those that haven't subscribed, Babakusha, subscribe to it, pass it around. So let's get into it. This is a map of the extent of the Medo-Persian Empire. Now, the Medo-Persian Empire were 2 empires that ruled: the Empire of the Medes, which ruled first, and then the Empire of the Persians, which were merged together when Cyrus the Great conquered the last last king of the Medes. And that's pretty much what we're going to get into in this lesson. All right. So the scripture that we're going to deal with is in the book of Daniel, chapter 5. The point is further down, and we're going to just get into it. We're going to go straight to the bottom, because Daniel chapter 5 pretty much gives a description of the fall of Babylon with the last ruling king of Babylon, of the Babylonian Empire, which was Belshazzar. So it says, Daniel 5:30, it says, "In that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old." So he was 62 years old when he took the kingdom. All right. So the question is, who is this individual, Darius the Mede, or Darius the Median? Now we understand that the Medes, were ruling in this region. They conquered a lot of different lands by the hand of the different they and the Babylonians actually conquered a lot of different lands. And the Medes come out of the seed of Japheth. When you read Genesis, the 10th chapter, around the 2nd verse down, they come out of the seed of Japheth. Now, the people that are ruling in these lands today, for the most part, Esau had moved out a lot of these different nations. That's why you see Edomites ruling. So it's today the Medes are a representation of the so-called Russians, and the Russians are not of the seed of Japheth. The Russians are Edomites that conquered those lands. Okay, so what we're gonna do is go here to Daniel 5, and we're gonna look up this term or this name, Darius, because when you read about the Darius and Cyrus and different other names, Ptolemy, Seleucid, Caesar, these were titles that were put upon different kings of a particular so-called race. All right, so that doesn't necessarily mean that Their actual name was Darius. That was a title that was held by these different Medial or Median kings. So you have the word Darayawash, and when you come down here, Darius, Lord. Now it gives you a different list of different ones. All right. It says Darius the Mede, the son of Ahasuerus, king of the Chaldeans, who succeeded to the Babylonian kingdom on the death of Belshazzar, probably the same as Astyages. And this is the only logical conclusion of who the name of this particular Darius is. Darius the Mede is Astyages. And as we go through the lesson, Lord's will, you'll see it and understand it. It says the last king of the Medes, 538 BC, same as 1867, whatever this part means. Then you have Darius, the son of Hystaspes, the founder of the Perso-Arian dynasty, 521 BC, which is of Persian descent. See, this Darius is Darius the Mede. That's why they distinguish him as Darius the Mede, as opposed to the name or title Darius that was taken on by the Persian kings. Then you have Darius II or Darius III. Darius II Northus Ochus was king of Persia during the time of Nehemiah. So on and so forth. Darius III Kodomanos was king of Persia during its last years at the time of Alexander the Great, or Creep, and was his opponent. And this is the individual that was on the throne of Persia that Alexander the Greek conquered when he subdued the Persian Empire and joined it to the Greek Empire. All right. So you got a little history on that. You know, if you want more information, just copy and paste or type these names in and do a little more research if you want. But this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with Astyages. All right, so we go to Daniel 6:1, which is the very following chapter after Daniel 5. It said, it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. All right. Now we know that at this same time, you had, let's go to Isaiah chapter 45:1. You had the Persians that were coming into power, headed by Cyrus the Great. Cyrus was, like I said, another term or another name that was used for the rulers of Persia. Excuse me. And this particular Cyrus the Great, Salaki for that, this particular Cyrus the Great was the second. He wasn't the first, because they had a list of Persian rulers prior to Cyrus coming on the scene. He just happened to be the first to take over the realm of the Medes. Okay, Isaiah 45:1. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus. So the Lord called Cyrus his anointed because the Lord chose him to set him up in power, because that was right after the destruction. I'm sorry, that was after the Babylonians came, destroyed the temple, did all that they did, and the Lord set up Cyrus to be the one that gave the decree for us to be able to rebuild Jerusalem again. It says, whose right hand I have hidden to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, which happened. That's why all these different kings were subjected unto Cyrus, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut. So pretty much when he took over, there was nothing that any other king that was in power at the time could do. Now, he allowed certain kings to be set up, but they were kings directly under him. This is called a co-regent. A co-regent is a joint regent or ruler. As you see, read over here, co-regency or co-principality is a situation where a monarchical position, normally held by only a single person, is held by two or more. It is to be distinguished from diarchies or duumvirates, such as ancient Sparta and Rome, or contemporary Andorra, where monarchical power is formally derived between two rulers. And when I read that, I immediately thought about uh, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And sure enough, they did mention them. So this was a co-regency. So in other words, you had a king, Cyrus, and he had set up other rulers underneath him, but they were subject to him, and they were paying tribute to the Persian Empire. That's why you have something called the Medo-Persian Empire or the Medo-Persian Empire. All right? And this is what we're reading about this particular Darius. Now, when we go to Daniel 9:1, it says, in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Mede. So this concludes that Darius is the son of Ahasuerus, biblically, of the seed of the Medes. And once again, when we look, it says, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldees. And we're going to read that again. Let's just go to Darius, Darayawash, and we read the list of all of the different ones again. The first one being Darius the Mede, the son of Ahasuerus. So this gives us the clue that this particular Darius, which was the Mede, same as Daniel 5, same as Daniel 6, is the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, because he was a Midianite, or Midian, not a Midianite, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. So this implies that he was set up as a ruler. He didn't establish the throne on his own. So who was he set up by? He was set up by Cyrus. So what I did was I typed in Daniel 9:1 commentary, as you see Elder Apostle Tar do, because I was trying to look for some info, but it's with these so-called scholars, they make things difficult. They go all around the mulberry bush before they actually give you, a piece of good information. So that's why, there's a lot of digging and searching that you have to do. So Daniel 9:1, it says, in the first year of Darius the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. And when we read here, this individual Ellicott's commentary for English reader, it says, was made king. It says the phrase corresponds with took the kingdom, Daniel 5:31, and shows that Darius was not king by his own right, but that he received his authority from another, an example, Cyrus. All right? And we also read in Daniel 5 and Daniel 6 and Daniel 9:1 that this particular Darius, which was a Mede, he was a son of Ahasuerus, and he also was of the seed of the Medes. So that's all established. And when we go to the word Darius, it speaks about, or they relay him to Astyages. Now, when you look at the rule of Astyages, Astyages was dethroned around 550 or 549 BC. You can leave a message. Can leave a message. Now, if we was just to deal with this date, the Medo-Persian Empire took over the Babylonian Empire around 539 BC. So this date wouldn't jive. Come on, man. See, I just hung up on you. All right. So it says Astyages was the last king of the Median Empire. And this is a key. He was the last king of the Median Empire, 585 to 550 BC. The son of Cyrus. He was dethroned in 550 BC by who? By Darius the Great, who not only dethroned him, but also set him up as a king over the realm of the Chaldeans. His name derives from the old Iranian Rishti, blah, 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 blah. So now let's see. All right, that's all we need in this one. So now let's move on to this next one. This is Jesus Walk, Daniel, Faithful Discipleship in a Foreign Land, and we're dealing with appendix to the Medo-Persian Empire. It says, as we survey the rise and fall of empires, we often overlook the Median Empire, sometimes lumping it together as the Medo-Persian Empire. But in interpreting the four empires indicated by the beast in chapter 2, which he goes off on that, and 7, he says that the Medes, I believe he said the Medes and the Persians were the third beast, which that's not true. They were the second beast of Daniel. It's important to at least consider if the Median Empire is one of these empires referred to in the visions, and it was the second beast. They give you a map. It says the Median Empire was certainly massive enough to be considered a major empire on the world stage. Yeah, because they were in power before the Persians took them over. With the Neo-Babylonian Empire consisted of what we call the Fertile Crescent, along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers and the eastern coast of the Mediterranean. The Median Empire extended north to the Black and Caspian Seas, as far east as the Indus River and as far west as part of Asia Minor. So they had a pretty vast empire. All right. It says, as the Neo-Assyrian Empire, 911 to 609 BC, went into decline, vassal states such as Media and Babylon stopped paying tribute to the Assyrians, and in 612 BC, the Medes and their allies captured the Assyrian capital of Nineveh. Free of Assyrian domination, the Medes grew their empire from their capital in Ecbatana and extended it from the northeastern Iran to the Halys River and Asia Minor. It's Kizimak, or whatever, Kizilimak, or however you say that river, and Asia Minor, present-day north-central Turkey. Media was considered one of four major powers of ancient Near East, along with Babylonia, Lydia, and Egypt. So these were major empires. According to the king's list, compiled by Herodotus in the Babylonian Chronicle, cuneiform tablets, Cyrus reigned 624 to 580 CBC. He developed the united Median state by bringing together the Iranian tribes and conquering territory. He formed an alliance with the Neo-Babylonia against the Assyrians, sealed by the marriage of his daughter to Nebuchadnezzar II. The Medes were instrumental, along with Babylon and allies, for the fall of the Assyrian Empire. Cyrus was followed by his son Astyages, which is Darius the Mede, as king of the Medes, reigning from 585 to 549 BC. Some say 550, some say 549. During this time, the Persians were one of 6 Iranian tribes that made up the united Median state. Others included the Medes, Scythians, and Parthians. In 553 BC, Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, rebelled against his grandfather, Astyages, king of the Medes, and won a decisive victory over him in 550 BC. After this, the Medes were now subject to their close kin. So he took them over, and they became subjects because they were related. The Persians, who now ruled over and expanded the Medo-Persian Empire, when Cyrus conquered Babylon in 539 BC, the Medes and the Persians took over the territory of Neo-Babylonia and ruled over the largest empire so far known in the West, and there was no major war. So this guy goes off on certain things, but there was no major war. We read in Daniel the 5th chapter how that Babylon fell into the hands of Darius the Mede, or Astyages. All right. So when Cyrus conquered Babylon in 539, the Medes and Persians took over the territory. Let's see. I conclude that Media was a great empire in itself. However, since Media is treated together with the Persians as the kings of the Media and Persia in the vision of two-horned ram, blah, 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 blah. All right, so let's go here. Fall of Babylon. The fall of Babylon denotes a Neo-Babylonian empire after it's conquered by the Achaemenid Empire in 539 BC. So let's jump down to invasion. In 539 BC, Cyrus invaded Babylonia. Historical reconstruction of the fall of Babylon to Persia has been problematic due to inconsistencies between various sources. Documents both the Babylonian Chronicles and the Cyrus Cylinders describe Babylon being taken without battle, and that's exactly what happened. whereas the Greek historians Herodotus and Xenophon report that the city was besieged. The book of Daniel implies that Babylon was taken in one night and states that Belshazzar was killed, and this is what happened. So these other ones are, some of these sources are correct and some of these sources are not. Let's see. There was a point. I think that was it on that. There was something else that I had read, but I can't seem to find it. Just bear with me 1 second. There was something that I read. I can't remember where it was at, but there was something that I read where it said that he had set, that Cyrus had set him up. Which maybe it was this one here. The phrase corresponds with the took the kingdom, which was made king, and shows that Darius was not king by his own right, but that he received his authority from another, an example Cyrus. So that was what, in 539 BC. So this king stopped ruling in 550 because Cyrus conquered him, but he set him up over that region, and he was, I'm not sure if they give his actual death. They just give his rule when he ruled. But see how the information is so vast, and there's so much to it. All right. But, pretty much the point is made. So let's go. We read that without battle. Let me see if I find something real quick, Salaki brothers. All right, let's see. All right. So I guess this was the main point was here. How Cyrus was the one that set up Astyages over that realm, and that, like I said, that fell to the Persians in 539 BC. I thought I had read it somewhere else, but I guess not. All right, so you got here the list of monarchs of Persia, and as we scroll down, you see the Median Empire, 678 to 549 BC. They give you the different rulers of the Medes. And one of the last ones was Cyaxares and Astyages. He was the actual last king of the Medes. And this is the one that they call in the scriptures Darius the Mede. And he's the one that, when you scroll here, this is the Persian Achaemenid kingdom, which are the Persians. And you see Cyrus the First, you see Cambyses. Then you see here Cyrus the Great, which I believe this he might either been Cyrus the Second, because you had another Cyrus before him, and they called him the Great. All right, and that's when he ruled 559 to 530 BC. All right, and this is when they took down the what they call Neo Babylonian Empire. He had set up Darius the Mede, which is Astyages, over that realm. That's why he called him King of the Persians. I'm sorry, King of the Medes. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. Why? Because it was time for them to rule. So now when we go to Daniel 8:1, it says, in the third year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns, and the two horns were high. So that this is a representation of the Medo-Persian Empire. This ram with the two horns means that they ruled jointly, or co-regents, as we read over here earlier, which is a joint ruler. All right. It says, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last, because out of the two, the Medes were in power first, then the Persians came up and conquered them and became great, but they were the more higher, or the more stronger of the two. So that's why I said one horn was higher than the other, because the Persians conquered the Medes and became greater than the Medes. It says, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, because it was pushing, it came from the east, and it pushed towards the north, towards the south, and towards the west. All right. And this is also a representation, which just, and that, goes also into the other kingdoms that it conquered: Babylon, Egypt, and Lydia, I believe it was. When you read Daniel 7 and 5, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, which is the same thing we're reading. The Persians became greater, and it had 3 ribs in his mouth of it, between the teeth of it, dealing with the 3 directions that they conquered, and also those 3 empires that they conquered, which were the Babylonians, Lydia, and Egypt. All right. So going back, it says, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. So there was no nation or empire that can withstand the power of the Medo-Persian Empire. And at one time, it was thought lunacy and madness to fight against the Persians. That's how vast they were. And they had many different armies fighting with them. It says, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came up from the west, because they came from where? From the west, from Greece. It said, on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, because Alexander the Great conquered quickly. So in 12 years, he conquered the known world at the time. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Okay. So now when we jump down to the 21st verse, 20. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. Letting you know that it was kings, not just a king. Because Astyages, which was king, which was dethroned by Cyrus the Persian, set him up to rule over that region of the Chaldees. Okay. It says, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. All right, so going back up, verse 5, and as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes, and he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power, and I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns, because he subdued the Medo-Persian Empire. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. Why? Because it was time for the ram to go down. Time and chance happened to every man. You know, the Lord setteth up one and puts down another. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, because Alexander the Creep, died at around the age of 32. It says, and for it came up four notable ones, which those four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven, because those four notable ones was how his kingdom was spread or broken apart, which were his four generals. You had Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Seleucid. And them four parted the kingdom of Alexander the Creep. All right, and then it goes into Antiochus Epiphanes, so on and so forth. And we're not going to deal with that. We're just going to deal with the part of Darius the Mede and the Medo-Persian Empire and how they were taken down by the Greeks. So with that, I pray that the brother's question was answered. I pray that you brothers have been edified. And to the next time. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Well, let's go. Wikipedia, under Astyages' defeat, Herodotus says that Cyrus kept Astyages at his court during the remainder of his life. See, while according to Theseus, he was made a governor of a region. Yeah, so a governor is a king, a ruler. It says region of Parthia, and was later murdered by a political opponent or Baris. But nevertheless, we read here in Daniel 9 that he was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. All right. So with that, I pray that you brothers. Oh, wait a minute. It's another one. Brothers are getting in again. Bel and the Dragon 1:1. And King Astyages was gathered to his fathers, and Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom. Yeah. So he was in the power, and he didn't kill him. Cyrus didn't kill him because they were related. He just set him up over that realm. All right. And eventually, when he died, then that region where he put him over, was Cyrus's anyway. All right. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified throughout for all the precepts you brothers put up, so I didn't get to any of them. But this was, I noticed there are not too many precepts because this is, more going into history, So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.